The Awakening. In the gleaming chambers of the Galactic Conclave, Ambassador Chen Wei remained perfectly still as insults disguised as diplomatic critique washed over her. The seven-armed Voldarian representative was speaking, his translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that signaled disdain. The human petition for expanded mining rights in the Cassini Divide is denied, Ambassador Tholka announced, upper appendages rippling in what humans had learned was their equivalent of a dismissive wave. Their technology is inadequate for proper resource extraction without ecological damage. Perhaps in another century, they might be ready. Chen didn't flinch. After 50 years representing Earth in the conclave, she had grown accustomed to the particular brand of condescension the elder species reserved for humanity. In a galactic community where civilizations measured their histories in millennia, humanity's mere 3 centuries of interstellar travel made them infants in the cosmic order. The conclave thanks the representative from Earth for their enthusiasm, continued Grand Arbiter Zilnox, the ancient Medusan whose gaseous form swirled within a containment field. Perhaps the humans would be better suited to continue developing their colony on Proxima b before attempting more ambitious ventures. Chen bowed respectfully, her gray-streaked hair falling forward before she tucked it back. The Earth Union appreciates the conclave's wisdom, she said, the practiced words hollow in her mouth. As the session concluded and representatives filed out through gravity tubes and phase doors, Chen felt a presence beside her. Commander Ikin Okafor, her military attaché, dark eyes alert beneath his regulation crew cut. Another productive day spreading human goodwill across the stars. He murmured, his Nigerian accent giving the words a musical quality despite their sarcasm. Chen smiled tightly. Just another day being patted on the head and told to go play in our corner of the galaxy. Ambassador, Ikin's voice dropped lower. We've received a priority Onyx transmission from Fleet Command. The Sentinel arrays in the outer void have detected something unusual. Chen's smile vanished. Priority Onyx was reserved for existential threats. My office. Now. In her private chambers aboard the diplomatic vessel New Horizon, Chen stared at the holographic display hovering above her desk. The footage showed only darkness at first glance, but as the enhancement algorithms worked, pinpricks of unusual energy signatures became visible at the very edge of charted space. These readings came from Sentinel Array 12, positioned beyond the Scutum Centaurus arm, Ikin explained. Energy patterns unlike anything in our database, but the quantum resonance suggests technology far beyond even Medusan capabilities. The void beyond the Scutum Centaurus arm is supposed to be empty, Chen said. That's why the conclave permitted us to place monitoring stations there. They thought it was worthless space. They don't know what we know, Ikin replied grimly. About what sleeps in the darkness. Chen's fingers tapped a complex pattern on her desk, activating security protocols that would scramble any listening devices. Has Director Chandra initiated Whisper Protocol? Not yet. She wants conclave authorization first. Chen laughed, a short, bitter sound. They'll never grant it. They'll claim our sensors are malfunctioning, that we're overreacting, that humans are too primitive to properly interpret astronomical data. Then what do we do? Chen stared at the anomalous readings for a long moment. We follow protocol. We present our findings to the Conclave's Security Council. When they dismiss us, we activate contingencies. Ikin nodded solemnly. Both knew what that meant. Decades of careful planning, hidden infrastructure, and quiet preparation, all for a threat the elder species refused to acknowledge could exist. The Conclave Security Council chamber was smaller than the main assembly, but no less imposing. Representatives from the 12 most powerful species sat in a circle, their environments customized to their unique physiologies. Chen stood in the center, feeling the weight of ancient eyes upon her. Honorable representatives, she began, Earth sensors have detected unusual energy patterns in the outer void, beyond the Scutum Centaurus arm. We believe these readings indicate the presence of artificial structures or vessels of unknown origin. The holographic data floated above them, the strange energy signatures pulsing in rhythmic patterns. The Vuldarian security minister, Fulvat, elder sibling of Ambassador Thulka, was the first to respond. Human sensor technology is notoriously unreliable. These readings are likely cosmic background radiation, or perhaps a dying star in its final phases. Our analysis indicates otherwise, Chen replied evenly. The quantum resonance patterns suggest artificial origin, and the scale implies technology far beyond current conclave capabilities. Grand Minister Zilmox's gaseous form churned within his containment field. Ambassador Chen, while we appreciate Earth's vigilance, the conclave has monitored the cosmos for over 50,000 years. If something existed beyond the charted arms of our galaxy, we would know of it. One by one, the council members dismissed the evidence. The crystalline inherists suggested solar flares from Earth's sun might have damaged sensor calibration. The Ursine Garkish recommended a complete overhaul of human astronomical education. Only Ambassador Lithera of the Thraxi, the newest species to join the conclave before humanity, showed any concern. Perhaps we should investigate, if only to correct the humans' misunderstanding, she suggested, her feathered crest rising slightly. The conclave does not waste resources chasing shadows, Zilmox declared with finality. The matter is dismissed. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her hands clenched at her sides. The Earth Union formally requests permission to investigate these anomalies ourselves. Fulvat's skin flickered with patterns of amusement. With what? Your primitive warp drives would take decades to reach the outer void, and your fragile vessels would likely disintegrate from cosmic radiation before arrival. Nevertheless, we request permission, Chen persisted. After a brief consultation, Zilmox responded, the conclave grants Earth permission to investigate, with the understanding that any discoveries are immediately reported to this council. However, we strongly advise against such a wasteful endeavor. Chen bowed, a perfect mask of gratitude covering her grim determination. The Earth Union thanks the conclave for its wisdom. Back aboard the New Horizon, Chen wasted no time. Initiate Whisper Protocol, she ordered, placing her palm on a hidden scanner beneath her desk. A new holographic interface appeared, requiring voice, retinal, and DNA verification before unlocking. When the system finally accepted her credentials, a simple message appeared. PRO2SOCOL active. Phase 1 commenced. Ikeen watched solemnly. How long until the Sentinels deploy? 12 hours, Chen replied. Fleet Admiral Kagawa has already moved the Phantom Division into position. The conclave monitoring stations will detect nothing until it's too late. And if we're wrong, if it's nothing. Chen's eyes never left the display. Then humanity looks foolish again, and we continue being the galaxy's children. But if we're right, she didn't finish the thought. She didn't need to. On the remote world of Ganymede, within Jupiter's protective magnetosphere, Fleet Admiral Yuki Kagawa stood before a wall of screens in the hidden command center known only as depths. Physically, she was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but her presence filled the room as officers rushed to implement her orders. Status on the Phantom Division, she demanded. Lieutenant Commander Hassan answered promptly. All 12 vessels reporting ready, Admiral. Phase shift drives charged to maximum capacity. Crews in cryostasis. Autonomous systems fully operational. And the conclave monitoring stations. Our quantum scramblers are functioning perfectly. As far as their sensors can detect, there's nothing but empty space where our fleet is assembling. Kagawa nodded, satisfaction evident in her stern features. For 3 centuries, humanity had maintained the facade of technological inferiority, while secretly developing systems that surpass even the eldest conclave species. The phase shift drives alone represented technology 2 millennia beyond what humanity publicly displayed. Begin final countdown, she ordered, and activate the Eden Protocol on all Earth colonies. If we're right about what's out there, we need to be prepared for the worst. As her orders spread throughout the hidden network of humanity's true military apparatus, Kagawa allowed herself a moment of reflection. The Conclave believed humanity had been spacefaring for only 3 centuries. They never questioned why a supposedly young species would be so cautious, so eager to join their alliance despite constant belittlement. They never wondered why humans settled only specific star systems, or why Earth maintained extensive monitoring of seemingly empty regions of space. The truth, that humanity had detected the sleeping threat millennia ago, and had been preparing ever since, remained humanity's most closely guarded secret. The Phantom Division crossed the vast distance to the outer void in mere hours, their phase shift drives bending reality in ways the Conclave believed impossible. 12 vessels, each a kilometer long but virtually undetectable, approached the anomalous readings with perfect stealth. Aboard the flagship Tenebris, Commander Sophia Reynolds watched the void through enhanced sensory feeds. Unlike traditional starships, the Phantom-class vessels had no windows or external viewports, only an immersive tactical interface that translated sensor data into visual information. Energy signatures intensifying, reported Science Officer Takahashi, his fingers dancing over holographic controls. Definitely artificial, definitely massive. I'm detecting structures at least 30 kilometers in diameter. Life signs? Reynolds asked. Nothing organic, Takahashi replied. But there's something. The quantum patterns suggest dormancy, not abandonment. These structures aren't dead. They're sleeping. Reynolds felt a chill run down her spine. Magnify central structure. The tactical display zoomed in, revealing a massive spherical construct surrounded by smaller satellites. Its surface was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Begin full spectrum analysis, she ordered, and prepare first contact protocols, just in case. Before her crew could comply, the central structure pulsed with sudden energy. A wave of quantum distortion rippled outward, washing over the Phantom vessels despite their stealth systems. Alarms blared throughout the Tenebris as systems briefly flickered. "We've been scanned," Takahashi shouted, his usual calm shattered. Something penetrated all our defenses like they weren't even there. Reynolds gripped her command chair. "Damage report." "No damage, but—" The tactical officer paused, confusion evident in his voice. "Commander, the structure is changing configuration. It's waking up." On the display, the massive sphere was indeed transforming. Sections rotated and shifted, revealing glowing cores and extending what appeared to be immense weapon systems. The surrounding satellites likewise activated, forming a defensive perimeter. "Send emergency transmission to Fleet Command," Reynolds ordered. "Priority Onyx Plus. Message begins. Whisper confirmed. The sleepers are awakening, requesting immediate implementation of silent protocol." As her message raced back to Earth at quantum speeds, Reynolds watched with growing dread as more structures began to appear, dropping some kind of cloaking technology far more advanced than anything humanity or the Conclave possessed. "How many?" she whispered. "I'm detecting hundreds, Commander. Possibly thousands, all awakening simultaneously." Reynolds made a decision. Maintain observation distance. Do not engage unless directly threatened, and initiate full recording of all events. The Conclave needs to see this. In the Conclave chambers, chaos erupted as emergency sessions were called. The sensor stations at the galaxy's edge had finally detected what the human instruments had found days earlier, but by then, the activity had increased 1,000-fold. Structures of impossible size and complexity were appearing throughout the outer void, and long-range scans suggested they were preparing to move inward toward inhabited space. Chen stood once again before the Security Council, but this time there was no dismissal, no condescension, only fear. "What are they?" demanded Fulvat, his luminescent patterns chaotic with stress. "We don't know," Chen replied truthfully, "but we intend to find out." "With what resources?" Zilox asked, his gaseous form swirling agitatedly. "Your primitive fleet could barely reach the outer void, let alone confront whatever awakens there. Chen's expression remained impassive. Perhaps it's time we showed you what humanity is truly capable of. The statement hung in the air, pregnant with implication. In the silence that followed, Chen activated a small device on her wrist. Throughout the chamber, holographic displays activated, showing feeds from the Phantom Division vessels. "Impossible," whispered a nearest representative, crystalline structure vibrating in shock. "These vessels, this technology. For 3 centuries, we've hidden our true capabilities," Chen explained, voice steady, not out of deception, but preparation. "Humanity has known about the sleepers for thousands of years. We've been preparing for their awakening since before we officially discovered faster-than-light travel." The revelation struck the Council like a physical blow. The implications were staggering. That humanity had been spacefaring far longer than they claimed, that they possessed technology rivaling or surpassing the eldest conclave species, that they had been preparing for a threat no one else had detected. "Why?" Zilnox finally asked, the single word laden with confusion and betrayal. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because we wanted to join you as equals, not conquerors. Because cooperation is stronger than domination. And because when the sleepers awoke, we knew we would need allies, not subjects." She gestured to the displays showing the massive alien structures. "Now they're here. The threat we've prepared for throughout our entire modern history. And we need to decide, together, how to respond." Fulvet's luminescence had dimmed to nearly nothing, a sign of extreme shock in his species. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" Chen looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, sensory organs, or perception centers of each council member in turn. "I propose we implement what humanity calls the Silent Protocol. A coordinated defense strategy we've been developing for centuries. But it will require something unprecedented, the complete integration of conclave and human technologies and military forces." As the implications of her words sank in, Chen added quietly, "The sleepers are coming, and they're hungry." The revelation. Silent Protocol active. Phase shift in 3, 2, 1. Admiral Kagoa's voice was steady as the massive human dreadnought Prometheus transitioned from normal space into something else entirely, not subspace, not hyperspace, but a dimensional intersection humanity had discovered millennia ago and kept hidden from the conclave. Alongside the Prometheus, 50 smaller vessels shifted in perfect synchronization, disappearing from conventional sensors only to reappear thousands of light-years away, precisely at the edge of the outer void where the sleepers continued to awaken. The bridge of the Prometheus hummed with quiet efficiency. Unlike the ostentatious command centers of conclave vessels, with their holographic displays and ornate designs, human military ships embraced minimalism. Officers worked at neural interface stations, their consciousness partially merged with the ship's systems. Kagoa stood in the center, her small stature belying her authority. Beside her, looking distinctly uncomfortable, stood High Commander Zilnox of the Conclave Defense Force, his gaseous form agitated within his containment field. "Impossible," he murmured, not for the first time. "This technology, the energy requirements alone would." "We've had a long time to solve those problems," Kagoa replied simply. Status report. "Sleeper vessels continuing activation sequence," reported Tactical Officer Rodriguez. "We're detecting energy buildups consistent with weapons systems. They'll be fully operational in approximately 6 hours. And the evacuation of the outer colonies, proceeding according to schedule. The Conclave transport fleet has already relocated 87% of colonists from vulnerable systems." Kagoa nodded in satisfaction. "Begin deployment of quantum anchors. Prepare to initiate Phase 2. As her orders spread throughout the fleet, Zilnox turned to her. "You still haven't fully explained what these anchors do, Admiral." Kagoa's expression remained impassive. "They create localized reality distortions that will prevent the sleepers from using their phase technology within conclave space. It won't stop them completely, but it will slow them down." And why hasn't humanity shared this technology before now? Would you have believed us? Kagoa countered. Or would you have dismissed it as primitive human fantasy? Xylox had no answer to that. On Earth, in the ancient war room beneath the Himalayas that had served human leaders for millennia, Ambassador Chen stood with the full Conclave Security Council. The massive chamber, carved from living rock and enhanced with technology hidden from the galaxy, displayed real-time tactical information from across Conclave space. The sleepers are targeting populated systems first, Chen explained, gesturing to the tactical display where red markers indicated enemy movement. Their pattern suggests they're seeking organic life, specifically sentient species. Harvesters, murmured Ambassador Lithera of the Thraxi, her feathered crest flat against her skull in distress. They consume consciousness. Chen nodded. Our ancestors encountered them once before, nearly 50,000 years ago, during humanity's first age of interstellar exploration. The statement caused a ripple of shock through the assembled council members. 50,000 years, Fulvat exclaimed. That would mean humans were spacefaring before even the Medusan Confederation. We were, Chen confirmed, though not in our current form. Human civilization has risen and fallen many times, Admiral. The last fall was the most severe. It sent us back to the Stone Age. But some knowledge was preserved, hidden away for future generations to rediscover when the time was right. She touched a control panel, and the wall of the chamber transformed, revealing ancient hieroglyphics and pictographs from civilizations long vanished. Among them were unmistakable depictions of the sleeper vessels and star maps. These warnings were left by our ancestors, in Egypt, in Sumeria, in the Indus Valley. For millennia, they were dismissed as superstition or religious symbolism. It wasn't until we rediscovered spaceflight that we understood their true meaning. Xylox's containment field pulsed with agitation. If what you say is true, why hide this knowledge from the Conclave? We could have prepared together. Chen's expression hardened. The last time humanity warned another species about the sleepers, they took our technology, claimed our worlds, and left us defenseless when the harvesters came. We learned a painful lesson about trust. She let that sink in before continuing. Nevertheless, we're sharing everything now. The silent protocol isn't just a defense strategy. It's a complete technological and military integration. Every secret humanity has kept, every advance we've hidden, is now available to the Conclave. At what cost? Asked the Garkash representative, suspicion evident in his ursine features. Survival, Chen replied simply. And perhaps, if we succeed, a new beginning between our peoples. The first battle occurred near the colony world of New Arcturus, a joint Thraxi-Voldarian settlement at the edge of Conclave space. 3 sleeper vessels, each larger than the largest Conclave dreadnought, emerged from the void with weapons charged. They encountered not the typical border defenses, but a line of phase-shifted human vessels that had arrived hours earlier. The Tenebris, commanded by Sophia Reynolds, led the defensive formation. Quantum anchors deployed and active, reported her tactical officer. Sleeper vessels' phase capability neutralized within this sector. Reynolds nodded grimly. All vessels, implement targeting solution Alpha 6. Prepare to fire on my mark. The human vessels, invisible to conventional sensors, but painfully visible to the sleepers, activated weapon systems unlike anything the Conclave had ever witnessed. Not the energy weapons or mass drivers common throughout the galaxy, but something far more exotic, quantum disruptors that targeted the very fabric of reality around their targets. Fire, Reynolds ordered. The battle was brief but spectacular. The sleeper vessels, denied their phase technology by the quantum anchors, found themselves vulnerable to the human weapons. The disruptors didn't destroy them directly, but rather unraveled the exotic matter that comprised their hulls, causing cascading system failures. 2 sleeper vessels collapsed in on themselves, their massive structures imploding into dimensional rifts that quickly sealed. The third, damaged but operational, retreated into the void. Throughout conclave space, similar engagements played out. Human vessels, supported by hastily retrofitted conclave ships, established defensive perimeters around populated systems. The sleepers, apparently surprised by the coordinated response, began to adjust their tactics. "They're adapting," Admiral Kagawa reported from the Prometheus. "The quantum anchors are becoming less effective. We need to implement Phase 3 ahead of schedule." On Earth, Ambassador Chen received the transmission with grim determination. "Understood, Admiral. The integration of conclave and human technologies is proceeding, but we'll need more time." "Time is the one thing we don't have," Kagawa replied. "The sleepers are deploying their harvest engines, if even one reaches a populated world." Chen didn't need to hear the rest. The harvest engines were the most terrifying aspect of the sleepers' technology. Massive devices capable of extracting conscious thought from living beings, leaving empty husks behind. "Activate the Lazarus Protocol," Chen ordered. "All of them." Kagawa's eyes widened. "Ambassador, the Lazarus Protocol was theoretical at best. We never completed the testing. We're out of options." "Admiral," Chen interrupted, "do it." Throughout human space, hidden installations that had lain dormant for centuries suddenly activated. On Mars, beneath the Olympus Mons colony. On Europa, in the depths of the subsurface ocean. On Proxima b, disguised as a mountain range. And on countless asteroids and moons that humanity had quietly claimed over the years. These were the Lazarus beacons, quantum resonators designed to create a galaxy-wide field that would disrupt the sleepers' neural technology. In theory, they would prevent the harvest engines from functioning. In practice, no one knew exactly what would happen. As the beacons activated one by one, a subtle shift rippled through reality. Most sentient beings felt nothing, perhaps a momentary headache, a strange dream, a fleeting sense of déjà vu. But the sleepers felt it immediately. Across the battlefronts, sleeper vessels suddenly faltered. Their smooth, coordinated movements became erratic. The harvest engines, moving inexorably toward populated worlds, stuttered in mid-space, and then went dark. "It's working," Kagawa reported, astonishment evident in her voice. "The Lazarus field is disrupting their neural network." But the victory was short-lived. The largest sleeper vessel, a behemoth nearly the size of Earth's moon that had remained dormant until now, suddenly activated. It pulsed with energy unlike anything seen before, sending a countervailing wave through the quantum field that threatened to overwhelm the Lazarus beacons. "Central control node," muttered Takahashi aboard the Tenebris. "That's their command vessel." Commander Reynolds made an instant decision. "All Phantom vessels, converge on the command node. Prepare for dimensional shift on my mark." Her plan was audacious to the point of insanity, to phase shift directly inside the massive sleeper vessel, deploying quantum disruptors at its core. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But before the order could be given, a new signal cut across all communication channels. Admiral Kagawa's voice, calm but urgent. "All vessels stand down. Prometheus will handle the command node." The massive human dreadnought suddenly accelerated, its phase shift drive pushing beyond safe parameters. It streaked toward the sleeper command vessel like a spear thrown by some cosmic god. "Admiral, what are you doing?" Chen's voice cracked with emotion, a rare break in her diplomatic facade. "Implementing the final phase of silent protocol," Kagawa replied serenely. "The one we hoped we'd never need." The Prometheus carried something that even most of humanity's leaders didn't know existed. A dimensional inversion device, capable of creating a localized rupture in space-time that would send a targeted object into a pocket dimension from which there was no return. As the dreadnought approached the sleeper command node, Kagawa activated the device. The Prometheus began to glow with impossible energies, the fabric of reality warping around it. "It's been an honor," Kagawa said simply, before cutting communication. The collision, when it came, wasn't an explosion in the conventional sense. Rather, it was as if a piece of the universe simply folded. The sleeper command node, along with the Prometheus, vanished in a silent implosion of light and darkness. In the wake of their disappearance, the remaining sleeper vessels went dormant. Without their central node, the neural network that coordinated them collapsed. They drifted in space, powerless and empty. 1 month later, Chen stood once again in the conclave chambers. This time, however, she didn't stand in the center as a petitioner, but sat among the High Council itself, humanity having been granted emergency membership in recognition of their role in the crisis. The threat has been contained, she reported to the assembled representatives. The sleeper vessels have been neutralized and are being studied by joint research teams. The Lazarus field remains active as a precaution, but we believe the immediate danger has passed. Grand Arbiter Zilmox, who had witnessed humanity's true capabilities firsthand aboard the Prometheus, spoke with uncharacteristic humility. The conclave acknowledges its error in dismissing humanity's warnings and capabilities. Had we listened sooner, perhaps the sacrifices made would have been fewer. Chen nodded in acknowledgement. The loss of the Prometheus and its crew, including Admiral Kagawa, weighed heavily on all of humanity. But their sacrifice had saved countless billions across the galaxy. What happens now? Asked Fulvat, his luminescence patterns conveying genuine curiosity rather than his former disdain. Chen looked around the chamber, at representatives of species who had, until recently, viewed humans as barely civilized primitives. Now they looked at her with respect, even awe. "Now we rebuild," she said, "together." The silent protocol was never just about defense. It was about integration. Humanity has kept secrets, yes, but so has the conclave. It's time for true transparency between all species. She gestured to the holographic display showing the dormant sleeper vessels. And we prepare. The sleepers have awakened before, and they will again. But next time, we won't be hiding from each other when they do. As the conclave session concluded with unprecedented unity, Chen stepped out onto the observation deck overlooking the galaxy's spiral arm. Commander Ikin joined her, his uniform now bearing the insignia of both Earth and the conclave. "They're calling it the Kagawa Doctrine," he said quietly. "Open sharing of all technologies, joint defense initiatives, true partnership across species." Chen smiled sadly. She would have hated the attention, but she would have loved the result. "Do you think they'll ever fully trust us?" Ikin asked. "After learning we hid our true nature for so long." Chen considered the question, watching the stars that humanity had quietly guarded for thousands of years. "Trust is earned over time, Commander. We've made a start. The rest is up to all of us." Across the galaxy, human vessels dropped their pretense of technological inferiority. Colonies revealed hidden defenses, and throughout conclave space, the message spread. The humans weren't newcomers or primitives. They were guardians who had stood silent watch for millennia, waiting for the day when the sleepers would return. When that day came, humanity had not stood alone. And in the new galactic order that emerged from the crisis, they never would again.